Hi, I'm Gary White for Channel 6 Television. I'm here with Abby Van Meter, who's the nutrition assistant at the Nelson County Extension Office. And as it's January, we're trying to eat healthy.
Right, maybe start on those New Year's resolutions and get a healthier lifestyle going. So
that's right. Everybody has good goals.
Good intentions,
exactly.
right.
Intentions.
Yes.
That was the word I was trying to come up with. And we today are going to be making something that's probably healthy-ish.
Right.
Looks good anyway.
Yes.
And it's out of the 2017 Food and Nutrition Calendar from the Extension Office, right. UK Cooperative Extension Office. And it's a January recipe,
It is a January recipe, so we're staying with the months as of right now. We might skip around a little bit, but it is the garlic pork, and so we're going to go on and get started because the pork has to cook a little bit, and then we can kind of talk about it while that's cooking.
Sounds good.
So you're going to start with, it says 2 pounds of boneless pork roast. So we have some pork here, and we're going to heat first some vegetable oil in a skillet, and this is a tablespoon of vegetable oil, so not too much oil. And we're going to let that heat up, and then while that's heating up, we're going to season our pork. So we're going to use a salt-free seasoning blend. The popular brand name is Mrs. Dash, but you can get a generic, or you can even make your own. So we're going to use...
That's a healthy option.
It is a healthy option. It has lots of good flavors and seasonings, but no salt. So especially if you're on a low-sodium diet, this is a really good seasoning to use. So we're going to season it with that and some Worcestershire sauce. So we're going to go on and pour the Worcestershire sauce on there first. Kind of let that soak in a little bit, and then put the Mrs. Dash on top of that.
That looks good.
Yeah.
I've been trying to eat less salt. I'm trying to not add salt.
Right, and that's that's a really good way to start. And if you start looking at some of the labels, food labels, so many things have so much sodium in them. So not adding salt is a good thing, and then some low sodium options. So like the chicken broth we use today will be a lower sodium. So you don't need all that sodium. You really only need a very small amount of sodium.
And so this is an option for you, this salt substitute, right? How about pepper? If you just kind of transitioned over to pepper, is pepper better?
Right, yeah. So pepper doesn't have any sodium or anything like that. So you still get that flavor, and using salt is a learned kind of behavior. So it's kind of a habit, just to salt food before you even taste it. So if you kind of slowly transition,
to unlearn that behavior.
Right. And some things just need salt, but a lot of things you don't need all that extra salt on.
Right.
So, all right. So our oil is heating up. So we're going to kind of spread that around the pan.
And again, it's the garlic pork. So if you want a copy of the calendar, the 2017 Food and Nutrition Calendar, you can go to any of your extension offices in Central Kentucky, and they can get you one of these calendars so you can keep up on some of the different recipes. Sounds good.
Yeah. So the oil is obviously hot because it started to sizzle. So you're going to let it kind of sear and brown for about 3 to 4 minutes on each side. So while that's cooking, we'll go on and talk about the rest of it.
Okay.
So this does require a little bit of prep before, but then it's ultimately going to go into the slow cooker and cook for about 8 hours on low, 4 to 6 hours on high. So, it does require a little bit of prep, but you could easily do it and then leave it in the slow cooker and it would be ready. So winter months are typically a good time to bring out the slow cooker. It's cold, you might want something hot, might not want to cook a lot. So that's a good option. So while this is cooking, we'll go on and kind of talk about the other ingredients in there. So whenever this is done cooking or kind of searing, we're going to slice it open a little bit and stick garlic cloves into the pork. And so then whenever you put it into the slow cooker, it'll that seasoning will really be in the pork. And then we're going to add some onion, just kind of quartered onions, so kind of thicker pieces of onion. And then you can either use sweet potatoes or regular potatoes. I actually had some regular potatoes here in the office that I didn't want to go to waste. So I just went on and used the white potatoes.
Okay, so they're potatoes, not carrots.
Yeah, so they kind of look like carrots, but they are sweet potatoes. So
I like regular potatoes.
Yeah, so either or, whatever you might have around the house or whatever you prefer. The recipe does actually say that you can use white potatoes, so I thought that was a good option to use. And then the chicken broth, and I did use the lower sodium chicken broth. So it only has 570 milligrams of sodium, while the other one has, substantially more. So anytime you can find those less sodium, that's a really good option to use.
And with that, you won't be able to tell the difference.
No. Especially, with all the other seasonings, especially like the Mrs. Dash in here, that you won't be able to taste it. It won't be that big of a deal.
So we're searing the pork. That's the first thing. They had to get that seared on both sides after it's been seasoned.
Yes.
It has the
so we're going to sear that, and then once that is finished, we're going to put the garlic in there, remove the pork, and then we're going to add a little bit of chicken broth in there and kind of get the rest of the flavor and seasonings out. Let that boil a little bit, and then add it all to the slow cooker.
Okay.
So
that's and then the potatoes actually cook in the slow cooker and the onions.
Right, and the onions, yes. So those don't go in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we were saying, one of the reasons you picked this particular dish is because some people don't really know what to do with pork.
Right.
We were saying it's promoted as the other white meat,
right.
But a lot of people don't realize
a lot of people
what to do with it.
Yeah, and they think kind of you can only eat, maybe like it as a roast with potatoes and carrots or, pork chops or pork tenderloin, kind of pulled pork. And that's not true. So this is a really good recipe to kind of utilize some pork. It is a white meat, so it is a healthier option. And it's kind of a different flavor. You got the potatoes and the garlic, so it's kind of a different, taste that you have. So I think it's a really good option. And it does, use the slow cooker, and you get, if you do use the sweet potatoes, you get an orange vegetable in there. The other regular potatoes, I realized or found out the other day that they have more potassium than a banana actually. So a lot of people think that potatoes sometimes are not the best vegetable to eat, but they do have some redeeming qualities. So
potassium is
potassium, yeah. So and a lot of Americans don't get enough potassium, we've realized. So make sure you're eating your bananas, your potatoes, and kiwi also has a lot of potassium.
Okay.
Yeah. So most people think potassium automatically banana, but there's some other options too if you're not crazy about bananas. So I'm going to get out another dish here just to stick the pork in because it's not all the way cooked, so we don't want to contaminate our vegetables with it. So always want to practice good food safety. So we're going to go on and get that out. And as you can see, it has a nice sear to it.
It does.
All right. So next we're going to add in a half of a cup of our chicken broth. So you're going to use the full can, but you want to separate out a half a cup.
Okay.
So we're going to pour that in.
It's hot.
It's hot. And we're going to let that kind of boil up, and then we're going to kind of stir around. And as you can see, those little pieces are kind of, yeah. So we're just going to kind of let that
bottom of the pan
sit there for a little bit, turn it down a little, and then we're going to cut our pork and put our garlic in it. So we're just going to make 3 slits in the pork. And kind of open it up a little bit.
Make sure again not to contaminate with your knife because you are cutting into uncooked.
Right, yeah, it's just seared a little bit. It's not cooked at all. It will finish its cooking in the slow cooker.
Now, is that a whole clove?
It is a clove. So this recipe actually calls for 6 cloves of garlic, which is kind of, sounds like a lot because usually you just use maybe 1 or 2 or a little minced garlic. But since it's called garlic pork, it does have that garlic flavor. And
there's a reason for it.
Right. And this probably isn't 2 pounds of meat. So, it would be a bigger amount. So it might be a little stronger. But I really like the taste of garlic. I think it really adds to it. And as we said, it's a healthier, it gives that flavor without the salt.
Protects you from the vampires.
Exactly. All right. So this is kind of boiling, and you see that it's kind of mixed in well. So now we're going to start adding things to our slow cooker.
Okay.
So we're going to bring this over here.
Here, I'll take the recipe.
All right. And so we're going to use a slow cooker liner. So these are very handy, definitely not necessary, but it makes cleanup a lot easier. So anytime I use a slow cooker, I always try to use a liner just because I'm sure if you've cooked anything in one, once the cleaning process is kind of a nightmare because it kind of gets stuck and all that. So these, you just put in there, and then whenever and they're, safe, they're made for the slow cooker. And whenever you're done with your recipe, you just pull it out and then just kind of wipe it clean in the middle.
They look like just a plastic bag.
Yeah, it's just a plastic bag, but it's,
I'm sure there's something
right, it's
special.
safe for...
Make sure you use the right
Right,
things.
don't just put a plastic bag in there. But it is safe for the slow cooker, and it really makes cleanup a lot easier. So I like to use those.
Yeah.
So we're going
Smart.
to.
Can you store it in that bag then afterwards too? Could you just like pull that out?
You
and
could,
use,
and
like, a
then
storage
yeah,
bag?
and maybe put it in like a Tupperware container, you know, because it doesn't
Yeah.
have a lid. But yeah, definitely, it would be a good storage tactic. I've never thought of that. All right, so we are going to add the cooked chicken broth with all of our seasoning. We're going to add
Good
it
stuff.
right in there, and then we're going to also add in the rest of our chicken broth on that.
Okay.
So
Giving it some good juice.
yeah.
And that's the low sodium.
Right, low sodium, and you can get it
Chicken
in
broth.
a can, carton, you know, they make it in a lot of different options. So then we're going to go on and put in our potatoes.
And how many potatoes?
4 medium potatoes, so
Whether they are white
or sweet, yeah. So and then you just peel them and then just kind of chop them, cube them, whatever.
Peeled and chopped.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
And one tip whenever you're using a slow cooker, you always want to put your vegetables on the bottom and your meat at the top, because the vegetables actually take a little longer to cook. So you want to make sure you layer it like that. So we have our potatoes, and then we're going to put in our onion. Whoops.
Right, and that's already been kind of cut up.
Yes, peeled and kind of quartered. So you want it to kind of be bigger pieces. And then the remaining 3 cloves of garlic.
Okay.
So you're going to put that in there, and then you're going to place our meat on top of that. And then we are going to cover it and cook it on, like I said, a low setting for about 8 hours, or you can do high for about 4 to 6. And
then you get to eat.
you get to eat. And this is kind of a different kind of slow cooker meal. Usually you think of like a soup or some kind of thing like that, but this is, you know, just a pork and potato meal. You could serve it with some brown rice, and with
so that
350
pork-
calories,
Yeah.
you know, you have a
Oh,
pretty
wow.
substantial meal.
Yeah, that's great.
yeah.
So that pork will actually start to fall apart at
It
some
will,
point. It'll just
yes,
become really
uh-huh.
tender and
Yeah.
go into the whole thing, so you can just like use it.
Yeah, it'll kind of be almost
Super.
like a pulled pork, yeah.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. So again,
Yeah.
that's the garlic pork. It's the January recipe from the 2017 Food and Nutrition Calendar for the UK Cooperative Extension Service, and you can get your calendars from any of the extension offices
Yes.
in Nelson, Marion, or Washington counties.
We have plenty, so there's lots of good recipes, and we'll be featuring some more later on in the year. So
Great.
hopefully this one will be one that you try, and let us know what you think about it.
Great. Sounds good. Again, this has been Gary White with Abby Van Meter at the Nelson County Extension Office.